works. Okay, I think, not sure, Nanda. Is Paul G available to join, or should we wait for his IT issue to resolve?
I'm here.
There you go. Yeah.
You're here.
Yeah, there's two Venerable Abbasas.
Oh, right. Yeah, understood. That's it. Okay, I think...
Okay, let me start. Good morning to everybody.
I'll start recording.
Good morning, Dhamma friends. With warm gratitude, I welcome you all to today's Dhamma sharing session. It's a special joy to introduce our speaker, Professor Indu L. Shakya, PhD, author of Beyond the Edge of the Universe, and a dedicated practitioner whose work bridges deep scientific inquiry with the liberating clarity of the Buddha's teachings. Today, Professor Shakya will guide us through a profound topic, the Supramundane Noble Eightfold Path and its characteristics. This is a rare opportunity to explore how the Noble Path unfolds beyond the mundane, illuminated through the lens of right effort, right collectedness, and the gentle wisdom of the 6 R's. Let us settle our minds, open our hearts, and welcome Professor Shakya with gratitude and respect.
Thank you, Nanda. As usual, I found a profound joy to attend this regular Dhamma session. And your introduction has been quite, I'm quite, yeah, it's a lot of joy that is coming. I do acknowledge it is, my effort has been somewhat kind of a, I have probably tried to combine seemingly two very distinct areas of science and Buddha's path, the meditation. So when this book, when I sent this book for review, one of the comments I received was, look, this is Buddhism and this is science. And you are trying to, these topics do deserve own books on their own right. And probably should you just remove some of the element and make it more on the Buddha's Dhamma only. So then and she was giving me some sort of analogy. Look, you are trying to ride 2 horses and be careful. Yeah. So I need to be extremely careful not to kind of mix too much or too many ideas and dilute the Dhamma. Yeah. So apologies if this book has introduced some extraneous information which do not help in your practice. So I have made it very clear in the guide that, the part 1 of the book is on the science and on the reality, which needs some sort of investigation. And if your mind is more inclined towards practice, you can safely skip that part and focus on what matters to us. Yeah. So practice is extremely important. And this is the topic I have covered quite a lot about these various ideas, and not ideas, but as some sort of theoretical foundation for the practice. Yeah. So now what I'm trying to do today is to cover a little bit about this path, which Buddha calls the Supramundane Noble Eightfold Path, and why it is called Supramundane, and why the Noble Eightfold Path is divided into Mundane Noble Eightfold Path, or is it only the Supramundane Noble Eightfold Path, and what are the distinctions, and what are the kind of what are the kind of, when you look at the practice itself, and there are two views, as the Buddha said, you can practice and you can have that sort of a improvement of your clarity of mind, and you will get some sort of lesser fruit out of those efforts. But what ultimately, if you want to transcend this kind of conditioned universe and go beyond that sort of a, let's say, a conditioned existences, then you need to do a bit more effort, and you need to combine some subtle elements, and that's what makes it a supramundane noble eightfold path. Yeah. So the definition of the noble eightfold path, and then the term noble in Pali is called Arya. So Arya are those specific category of disciples who have transcended this conditioned existences, and sort of they have kind of benefited from the let's say, one of those four fruits. Yeah. So I talked about this term called Mahapalas. Mahapala means, in English it is called great fruit, but in Pali, Mahapala means much more than just fruit. Yeah. So it is the kind of the ultimate reward for practicing the path that the Buddha prescribed to his disciples. Yeah. So supramundane, and there are, I took it from the Majjhima Nikaya 117, which might puzzle quite a few scholars or practitioners as well. Why this categorization of some sort of a eightfold path into two, with mundane and non-mundane or supramundane? Yeah. So this is what the Buddha said is that the kind of when we practice, and when we have gained certain kind of a confidence in this path, then there are certain insights that matures, which allows us to kind of observe the mind and the state of what is called the awakening factors, and that the factors that balances together in this practice. Yeah. So, and in that kind of a practice that the Buddha gave on that MN 117, he kind of brings in that sort of insight, liberating insight first. So what is the right view? Yeah. So right view is always, it is a critical component of this path. Yeah. So right view can be a mundane right view, or it can be a supramundane right view. So this is the first kind of a map of this path. Yeah. So mundane right view is we are living in this sort of a very, very noisy and a sort of impure state of mind, and the world is it does give that sort of a, it clutters the mind with so much of kind of impurities, and we need to have some sort of right view to say that, okay, we need to, at least to get out of that sort of a cluttered mind, we need to have some right view that protects our welfare and the state of mind. Yeah. So you cannot practice this path with those let's say virtue, your livelihood that is based on the false foundations. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how accomplished meditator you are, you can be you can be submerging into very, very fantastic state, and you can be in that sort of deep meditative state with so much of profound experiences. But if your livelihood, if your attitude, if your behavior show that sort of signs of wrong kind of behavior, then that kind of collapses the path. Yeah. So that is why, we might have some very, very accomplished teachers claiming that they know the Buddha's, path inside out. But if they show some sort of signs that they show signs of greed, signs of great hatred and delusion, which and if they take care of mundane thing like money, possessions, that sort of kind of a luxury, then they will be caught in that sort of mundane sort of view that is already going to clutter the path towards that sort of supramundane noble eightfold path. Yeah, so it does really, the noble path is not about that sort of having that sort of a supreme experiences and having the to experience and stay in that sort of let's say Niroda or in a higher state for extended period of time. That is that kind of a state can, if they are not supported by your foundation, by the foundation. What are the foundation? Foundation are the those, and that's why the Buddha gives that sort of a foundation of virtue, the Sila. Samadhi is the sort of a collectedness of mind. Then the faculty of wisdom and the power of wisdom. Yeah. So you can already see this noble eightfold path is fragile path. Yeah. So Buddha calls it, I think you can find the sutta here. Just like the suffering is dependent, suffering is like it's rooted in a very, very fragile framework, because we have already known what are the dependent origination of suffering. Then we can also apply the same approach to the path. Yeah, so the path is also quite fragile. So we have to, if we have not built a foundation of that sort of having that sort of view that is noble, then it doesn't matter how accomplished the meditator you are, if your foundation is not strong. Yeah. So this noble eightfold path is a dependent path. It is a conditioned path, and the condition, we need to apply that right condition. And those what are the right condition? Those right conditions are right view, right intention, right kind of let's say imaging, right kind of visualization of your mind, and right intention will give it to the right let's say speech. You start to speak that sort of wholesome things, and you, even if there are unwholesome kind of things come in your mind, you apply that sort of approach to, because you abandon. Yeah, so that's sort of wrong or false speech. So it's kind of a right speech and right livelihood and so on. Yeah, so this path, the supramundane path, has those factors of what is called the Sila, which is the right speech, right livelihood, right action. Yeah, so these are the kind of a basis for you to step on to the sort of an approach which will support your let's say clarity of your mind. Yeah. So this and with the cause, what is that sort of factor? What are the when you are practicing for that sort of supramundane path, then once you have got those sort of bases ready, once you have lived that sort of virtuous life, then you need to have that sort of those supporting factors. So right view is critically important. Yeah. So we right view is very, very, let's say, it is a compass. It is that sort of a map without which any journey, any kind of activities that you take, you continue, will become just, it will lose that purpose. It will lose that sort of progress. It will lose that sort of, kind of arrival at the path. So you need to have a right view, like a skin in your, let's say, just like we carry the skin with us. So right view will be there all the time. Yeah. So right view will be, that sort of a factor to give that sort of awareness. It is related with that sort of vision. It is related with that sort of, let's say, a faculty of observation, and that sort of anything to do with the kind of understanding. Yeah. So, and these are the things. If you look at this path, Buddha's path has got a sort of the vision, the observation, and then you can break it down, all those sort of factors that are considered, let's say, supreme by various philosophies, and even you will be able to see what is that sort of a fact. Yeah, what are where these sort of philosophies and concepts fall apart, and you will be able to see what is the reality. Yeah, so that is why having that sort of vision is very, very important. Yeah. If you want to summarize what the Buddha said, is this: there is an utmost importance on seeing the things, having that sort of clarity. And I can give you some examples of the suttas where Buddha says that, look, you are following your practice is like a file of blind man. Yeah. So Buddha had that sort of courage to say you have the blind practice. And if we say, what is it, why we are not blind? What is the kind of confidence that you have that you are not blind? If we had to justify that, we need to be able to see. And I personally, counter those sort of arguments. What is the sort of basis to say that we are not blind? When we make some sort of allegation, you are file of blind men. Yeah. So that is why this right view is very, very important, and this supramundane path is guided by the sort of right view, right vision. Yeah. So this is obviously, if we are in that sort of mundane life, if we have not done a practice to the right maturity, then our vision will be blurry, and we will not be able to assert those sort of statements. That is why we need to have that sort of rudimentary, we need to practice all factors in the beginning by having that sort of purified livelihood and that sort of approach. Then once we have done that sort of, we have made some sort of a rudimentary kind of a platform, then our practice will refine. Yeah. So it's I keep calling rinse and repeat approach, because you cannot build a castle by just in one day. You will have to remain with that sort of a course type of a building, or some sort of skeleton, that sort of all this sort of scaffolding, because you are building things. Yeah, you are practicing, you are refining. That is why this noble eightfold path is. I compare this to sort of any project, like you are building stuff, and you need to kind of start with some sort of very, very basic ingredients. And once you have done and built to some certain extent, you can put that sort of a very, very refined and final touch to the practice. Yeah. So that is why this, I would not disparage that mundane mundane path as such. No, it is not the aim of the sutta. So we need that. Once we have let's say made that sort of some effort to be free of those sort of very, very coarse distractions, then the work will begin. Now those in a very, very let's say those kind of things that will make us repent, that will make us, at least feel very, very, unsettled. Those will go away if we have the right approach to this life, and with a sort of a practice rooted in that sort of a very virtuous and harmonious lifestyle. Yeah. So this is the foundation. Yeah. And now Buddha's path is he puts that sort of right view and right intention in the sort of what is called the aggregate of wisdom, and the right speech, right livelihood, and right actions. These are the aggregate of what is called Sila, which is the morality, and then the three factors: right effort, right mindfulness, and right collectedness. These are kind of tools to allow the mind to get settled to the finest degree. Yeah. So, and now this jhana is what is called, Buddha calls the four jhanas as the Samma Samadhi, which is the harmonious collectedness, a very, very balanced, extremely pleasurable. It can bring that sort of a pleasure to the body, pleasure to, each and every cell of the body can be suffused by this pleasure and joy of jhana. Yeah. So jhana is a crucial milestone. It is once you have this jhana experience arising, then the supramundane path can now be navigated. Yeah. So your task is not over yet, and jhana will give you that sort of a settled state of mind, which is a fruit, which is a kind of an abiding a reward for maintaining that sort of lifestyle, which is balanced across the all. Yeah. And you have maintained that sort of a approach to stay in harmony with everybody. Yeah. So the jhana will arise naturally, and I tested that. I was in Nepal for the last month or 3 or 4 weeks. I conducted several, let's say, short workshops on the TWIM, Metta, Karuna, Vipassana, Bhavana. Yeah. So I don't call it TWIM. TWIM is one of those manifestation of this metta, compassion practice. So what I did was I tried to, because I would say that the people I know, the friends and families that I have, they were finding it a bit difficult to remember those 6 steps, 6 R's. Yeah. And they were saying, is there any way I could simplify? I could make it they wanted me to guide them through the process. So they wanted me to reduce the steps in the 6R. Yeah. So I thought that, okay, I would be hesitant to kind of modify the formula, but I see no harm if I do not lose that sort of the path factor, the ingredients of the path. So I did what I did see some of the video from Delson. So Delson did one or two retreats using what is called 4 R's. So that was quite useful. So I applied that 4 R's: recognize, relax, re-smile, and return. Yeah. So that proved to be very, very effective, and I'm amazed. Yeah. So by skipping the let's say release step, and repeat state, basically. Those two were kind of I took them out, and I didn't lose much of the kind of the factors, and the sort of the participants were really getting this the fruit of this practice. Yeah. So having that sort of wholesome arouse, and I made it very, very clear to all of them, this is a kind of a feeling practice. Yeah. It connects with your heart, and you need to have that sort of a very, very pure heart to practice. Yeah. And majority of them, they managed to grasp that instruction, because once you have got a sort of mind imbued with that sort of loving kindness, imbued with that sort of sympathetic sympathy for others, then you are already fulfilling the half of the noble eightfold path. Yeah, or shall I say that majority of the noble eightfold path. Yeah. So that when that factor is supported by smile and that sort of wholesome kind of, you are adding more wholesome mind, and then sort of having that sort of a right effort. I did not lose the right effort in that 4 hours, so it was still abundant in the unwholesome, because once you relax, it already abandons the unwholesome, because your tendency to remain attached or remain hooked into that sort of some sort of rigid thoughts will melt away. Yeah. So you, instead of doing release and relax, just relax was pretty efficient. So that was one of the joy I have from the practice that I kind of conducted in Nepal. So really, really good. And that does not mean that I have distorted the 6 hour, but I just made it simpler for people to understand. Yeah. So extremely important. Yeah. This and one of the things I noticed in one of the sessions, my sister-in-law, she practiced it for the first time, and I just gave her this instruction for 20 minutes, and we sat for 1 hour. And guess what? She was in the third jhana. Within 1 hour session, she was able to experience the third jhana. Yeah. What is the? How do you know you are in the third jhana? Because your tension in the body and your mind is so little. Now you don't feel this body. Yeah. You become so light. Your body start to float. Yeah. And I was amazed to see, how quickly she could grasp that instruction to maintain and be in that sort of a great state of jhana. Yeah. So jhana is very. It is not that sort of extremely rare thing. It can arise within a minute or so. Yeah. If you have practiced this path with loving kindness as a vehicle of compassion, and applying that sort of a right effort to release, to remove that sort of unwholesome and keep your mind in that wholesome, that is gonna arouse the jhana, even a matter of few minutes. Yeah. So that was quite a good testimony of this path, that Buddha's instruction is that just abandon the unwholesome and bring up the wholesome. That is in a nutshell, that is the Buddha's path. Yeah. So now we are slightly advanced than that sort of state. So what I want to make this session focused on is majority of us, maybe few of us, have been experiencing jhana for many, many years. Yeah. So this jhana is nothing special. You just sit and you will gain into that sort of experience of jhana. So what are the things we might get that sort of some sort of if you take this jhana as an abiding for your, it's your lifestyle, yeah, it is well all good and stay in that immersed in the jhana. But if you are thinking maybe it's time is right now, I just want to go and make that sort of a let's say a deep dive, yeah. So if you want to kind of break a barrier, and if you want to progress in that sort of higher fruits and of the Buddha's path, I called it Mahapalas, yeah, the fruit of stream entry, the fruit of once returning, fruit of non-returning, and fruit of Arhat, yeah. So these fruits are and Buddha's path is gonna lead to one of those fruits, yeah. So in majority of suttas, you might have heard that some bhikkhu asked the Buddha, how do I know and see for myself the taints are destroyed? So there are very, very, there are numerous shortcuts the Buddha has given. If you contemplate, now when you are in a jhana, it is your moment is, you need to allow the jhana to be and stay in that sort of jhana for some time. Once that jhana is kind of you are in a very, very balanced state of jhana, and now that jhana has settled for good, then the real work is, then you can be some sort of, it's a practice. And just like a scientist does an experiment, whenever there is some sort of experiment is happening in a lab, a scientist does some sort of experiment, that a scientist can introduce some sort of factors, and they have got a very, very extremely sophisticated instrument to measure the impact. Yeah, so it is crucial that that is why I say right view is right observation. When you are in that sort of subtle state, now our approach should be not to kind of let's say just be in that sort of submerged into jhana, but to maintain that sort of very, very fine balance. Yeah, so we need to have that sort of, now it is time to test it through some intention and see the ripple. Yeah, so that's kind of a very, very fine feedback loop is what is going to lead us to that sort of a better outcome from this practice. Yeah, so that's why we need to kind of, I don't know whether we need to make it we need to speed up this process, or we need to take a step back. But when you think the moment is ripe, and you have seen that it's like you are in the sort of mind is giving you all the kind of tools and knobs to observe what are the cause and effect. Yeah, so causal process. Yeah, and the way I see is that it's like you are suspended in amidst the thin air, and mind is kind of giving that sort of, it is like you are in an aircraft of some sort, but that aircraft is so fine and so sensitive that it can just about support your weight. Yeah, and if you start to wiggle your mind a little bit, it will just jump, like your aircraft is let's say going down, it is going down, that sort of things. Yeah, so that sort of fine balance, yeah, is what makes this practice so fun and so interesting. Yeah, so that is what, and I do like to experiment this sort of a feedback mechanism. You intentionally bring some thoughts, You throw that sort of thoughts into the mind and see the ripple effect. Yeah, I did come across with some sort of example last time. Mind is like a wall. Yeah, it's a very, very fine wall, and it will reflect anything you throw into the mind. It will bounce back. Yeah, so that is that kind of you are in that sort of sensitive state, and that is we can gain insight into the dependent nature of the reality. Yeah. So what happens is that now in that state, your mind is as I said, that you are seeing the screen of mind, a wall of mind, and you are seeing subtle kind of interaction, some vibration. Yeah. And those vibrations are, I call it some sort of formations is your, there are, you probably see that the majority of the verbal formations, your intentionalizing your thinking process will be subdued. Yeah, it will not be completely gone, but they will remain. Yeah, even if you're in a fourth jhana, your fourth jhana will not be 100% solid, because it can be contaminated with the impurity with that sort of a second jhana or first jhana, because those sort of thought formations can still be present while you are in the higher jhana. So that means that your jhana is not like a solid 100% for jhana. Yeah, you can be, your mind can be in various states all the time. Yeah, so you can have that sort of thought formations arising, and you can have that sort of verbal formations arising, because you are constantly seeing that your body is trying to do something. Yeah, your body is trying to survive. Yeah, you are in a kind of your body is inhaling and exhaling. That kind of activities, these are the what is called bodily formations. Yeah, and there is a craving attached to that. So we think this kind of we can already see some sort of a longing to continue this existence. Yeah, and some fear, some sort of reaction that I need to survive, and that sort of kind of all these sort of thoughts and formations, and some reactions are going to oscillate and vibrate. That's the state of mind. Yeah, so it is quite important at that state to, and the Buddha's path is, we all know there are two parts that we need to be balancing all the time: samatha part and vipassana part. Yeah, so samatha part is that when the sort of and the influxes, that sort of vibrations do arise, we need to just relax a little bit, just open a little bit of knob in that sort of samatha part to just relax. Yeah, so it doesn't mean that you need to do the 4 hour intentionally all the time for those subtle kind of, let's say, vibration. You just need to relax at that particular time. So that kind of things will, so if you start to see small bubbles of let's say a vibration arising, just relax. Yeah, now just relaxing is not enough. Now you need to look at how they arose and how the relaxing allow it to subside. Yeah, so that kind of fine balance, that sort of approach to check and balance. Yeah, to making sure that you are aware. That is why this practice, if we want to say that why we are not blind, why we are openly aware, because of this. Yeah, because of this, because we know and see all the time what is happening in the mind. Yeah, so when you do that sort of refine this practice to the utmost, then what is going to happen is that those formations and your reaction to your continuation of experience to last, if it is pleasurable, or terminate any kind of unpleasant let's say experiences, those reactions, you know how they arise and how they cease. Yeah. So it's kind of, we don't need anything for them to arise. They will arise. Yeah. Because those factors they arise automatically. Yeah. So that is why what is called the Asavas and the influxes, they are in constant supply. Unless we have abandoned those fetters, they are already always flooding us. This dependent origination process is sustained by these influxes. Yeah. So we don't need to arouse them. They will arise by themselves, because they are already, they are already in a snowball. They are already, in a continuum. Yeah. Now what we need to do is we allow them to be settled, relax them, and see the effect. What is the effect of relaxing? Yeah. That is where the vipassana is. So what is the samatha vipassana is telling? What is it showing? It is revealing the sort of dependent nature, conditioned nature of our experiences. Now, in those experiences, we have seen a very, very extremely luminous, extremely comfortable, extremely spacious moments. Yeah, those moments of emptiness. Yeah. So emptiness is the sort of a moment of clarity, moment of freedom from distractions, a clear awareness, and bright mind. Yeah. So that state of mind is just knows and sees without any projection. So that is the wisdom, the faculty of wisdom. And that faculty of wisdom, what it does know. Yeah, it just knows what is the state, what state arose, what state ceased. Yeah. So that is the faculty of wisdom, which is able to see the process. Yeah. So we all know there are certain beliefs and philosophies. They put the consciousness over all the experiences, but consciousness is conditioned. That consciousness arises due to causes and condition. Was introduced by the Buddha. Is that, look, no matter how sublime consciousness you think of, because that is the projection of mind, there is such a state called a mind that can see how these processes do arise depending on cause and condition. Yeah. So wisdom is that sort of awareness which is different from consciousness. Yeah. So, and what happens is that when you are in that sort of when you have done sort of a balance, check and balance with that sort of a samatha and vipassana aspect, is even in the jhana, it's like, I mentioned about this experiment, and sort of very, very fine experiment we are doing with the mind. Yeah. So, and what is the ultimate, let's say, atoms and molecules of our experiences? And there is no other formula, no other recipe for our experiences than dependent origination. Yeah. I do not want to go into that sort of philosophies and very, very kind of complicated terminologies of 128 type of consciousnesses, 18 type of formations, and that sort of, all this sort of bhavanga and that sort of things that Abhidhamma kind of books do tend to analyze the sort of factors. But those are all speculations. Yeah. Because if you are trying to do some sort of experiment, and if you are introducing some extra concept, then you are cluttering the process. Yeah. So all these sort of various type of processes that will lead to revert, that will lead to various tendencies of your mind to take revert in that sort of various realms, these are all kind of projections. Yeah. So if we want to, master this path, we need to let go of that sort of, all this sort of injection of ideas into the mind. Yeah. As I mentioned, is that mind is now, if you are in this sort of state of purity, our effort, our activities should be we need to be free of activities. Yeah. So mental activities, and bodily activities, courses type of, not that are connected with life, but those activities through the bodies and speech. Yeah. So once that kind of a state have been reached, then it will open the door for the investigation of the phenomenon. Yeah. So and that is the state of wisdom. And in the Majjhima Nikaya 117, what is that a supramundane right view? And Buddha says that state, the awakening factor of investigation of Dhamma. Yeah. Investigation of phenomena. So what are the phenomena? Those phenomena are your ignorance, the formations, and all this sort of the process of dependent origination. These are called the Dhammas. Yeah. So you have got a mind and Dhammas. Yeah. So that mind will be able to see the Dhammas, how they arise. Now, how the Dhammas arise? This is the mind and this is the Dhamma. And I mentioned some time ago that the mind is fabricating these Dhammas. Yeah. So mind is a base, and these are kind of some sort of cottons or wools. The mind is fabricating. Yeah. So your ignorance, your formations, your consciousness, your namarupa, your feeling, perception, these are all kind of emanated by this mind. Mind is kind of when the mind doesn't know what to do, when the mind is not observant, when the mind is let go, it will introduce that sort of process all the time. Yeah. So what we need to do is that when in that sort of state of clarity, in the moment of emptiness, in the moment of purity, then you will be able to see how the mind operates. Yeah. So I called about the Dhammapada saying, mind is the forerunner of all Dhammas. Yeah. So now we can refine that even further. So I did also mention about Kima Mulaka Sutta in the previous session, and in that sutta, Buddha says, attention is the root of attention is what is called it conduces the arising of the phenomena. Yeah, manasikara sambhava sabbe dhamma. So attention is gonna give rise to all the dhammas. Yeah. So now how do we understand this process? Now there's a mind and there's awareness, and all these phenomena, we have got a 6 sense doors. Now, when the mind and when the mind pays attention to all these 6 sense doors, that is what is called manasikara, is the paying attention. Now, when the attention goes to any of those, let's say some sort of events, then that attention will give rise to. So attention is a part of namarupa. Yeah. So nama is consisting of what is called nama is the feeling, perception, intention, contact, and attention. Yeah, you see that when there anything you pay attention to, those phenomena will become manifest. So what the Buddha is saying is that it's not that we are seeing something already existing out there. They do manifest because of your attention. Yeah. So it's kind of a always mind comes first, then phenomena arise. Yeah. So in the extreme of this sort of a process, we can also apply this to 4 great elements. What are those 4 great elements? Those 4 great elements become material. They become some sort of stuff when there is an attention. When you pay attention, then they will start to generate a feeling. Feeling will generate some perception. Perception will generate what is called consciousness. Yeah. So all these sort of things are already in front of all the time. Yeah. So it's like in my book I call it some sort of quantum experiment. You have got a double slit experiment that it says that this particular thing can be anywhere until it is measured. So attention can bring some notion of measurement, and that will manifest thing that we see. Those are things that are arising. Yeah. So we can put some label onto those sort of a very, very fluid and indeterminate state. There were some very, very some potentials somewhere in this, let's say, awareness. They just pop out of this in the indeterminate state, and they become reality. So what makes them a reality? Attention. Yeah. So your attention, and what is fueling the attention? Attention is supported by feeling, perception, intention, contact, and attention. Yeah. So you see that these are all the things are in front of us all the time. Yeah. And that is why this praticca samutpada, the dependent arising, is you cannot say this is feeling, and after that there is a perception, after that there is a consciousness, after that there is a kind of craving. You cannot say that. Yeah. You cannot say that this feeling arose, that feeling, after that, all this notion of after, before goes away. Yeah. There is no such thing called, this time, this, kind of, these are all our ignorance. We are creating this concept. Yeah. But the thing is that in reality, this sort of things occur simultaneously. Yeah. The feeling arises, and with the feeling, there is a perception. With the perception, there is an awareness, and there is a kind of reaction, and there is a consciousness to say that is the world and this is me. All these sort of things happen all immediately. So how do we, and that is why even the kind of the most accomplished rishis in India, they could not solve this problem. Yeah. And they all knew this birth is suffering, death is suffering, but they didn't know what is fueling all this sort of death and birth and all this sort of countless kind of existences that we are being dragged into. What is the source? What is the fuel for that? Yeah. So and it is extremely so when you are introduced with some stuff and they're all kind of leaning to each other, you simply haven't got a tool to see which one and which. Yeah. So that is why the path, the Buddha's kind of a Buddha's path, I can give you there are several kind of occasions what the Buddha calls it. This is peaceful, this is sublime, namely the stealing of all formations, relinquishing all acquisitions, destruction of craving, dispassion, cessation, and nibbana. Yeah. So that is the path. Yeah. It's it's like you are there is a wall, there is a barrier, and you need to penetrate that barrier. You need to go beyond. You need to cross over. Yeah. So, and how do you do that? By calming, by making it so small, so subtle, so kind of small, you reduce your formation to just nothing. Yeah. And when the formations, you will, as I said earlier, is that those mental formations, the verbal formation, and the bodily formations. These are the kind of vibrations that are kind of does not allow you to penetrate that barrier. So how do you penetrate that barrier? By stealing the formations. Yeah, by making sure it's like if you got something like a surface, and if you pour some water, if you got some sort of, let's say, a porcelain or some sort of porous like fabrics, so those water will penetrate. Yeah. So and that means that penetration is possible because that object was so fine. Yeah. So the Buddha's part was, you need to make that sort of a formation so fine, so little, so subtle. Then when it becomes so subtle, then it allows you to penetrate that barrier. Yeah. So that is why cessation of formation, I call it the Sanya Bedahiti Niroda, is that sort of allowing the process to reduce the magnitude of your formation to such a small degree that it will penetrate any barrier. Yeah. So that is how I kept that sort of. I also produced some diagram how the vibration, that vibration will go smaller and smaller and smaller with your relaxation. That's a process of stealing of your formation is that. So once that is still to such an extent that the formation will stop. When that formation will stop, that kind of it will allow you to kind of that actually that barrier was there. It was not a barrier. Yeah. So that barrier will go away, and it will bring into the state of all these dependent phenomena coming to standstill. Yeah. So that is what Niroda is Niroda of your formation. Yeah. So Sannabheda Niroda is cessation of your perception and feeling. Those are the subtlest formation. So once you go to such a fine degree, to such an extent, then you have come to a state where there is no dhammas, no phenomena. Yeah. So, and because you are still alive, your bodily faculties are still there, the reservoir is still full. Yeah. You just stop the reservoir to see what is in the mind. Now you open it back again in certain after a minute or two, or after 5-6 days. Then that once you open that, it's not you will land into that Niroda just when the mind is extremely relaxed. Yeah. So, and it does take some time, and after that, when you come back, your process, your the reality you start. Yeah. And that seeing that reality coming in front of you is you are going to see some sort of bundle of energy, some sort of very, very shaky experiences. Those are the phenomena that are arising from the purity of emptiness. Yeah. From the state of no consciousness, no namarupa, no formations, no ignorance, no birth, no death, everything. So you see that death is embedded. Death is part of that process. Yeah. In the dependent origination, the last part is the death. Yeah. So if you can let go of dependent origination, that means you have avoided the process of death itself. Yeah. So those people who experience cessation, they have gone to the mouth of death. They have become dead, and they have come back from dead back to alive. Yeah. So those people, they know there is nothing special. Yeah, it is not inevitable. Yeah, so that is why those people are in the Buddha's practice. That is the Arya disciple are those who have kind of, it's like playing with the fire. They are playing with the death all the time. Yeah, so nothing significant about death. That is why they are fearless. They don't carry too much of this concern about this body. This body dies, so be it. This body is a dependent process. Yeah, they know first-hand experience because they have gone through the process. Yeah, they have seen the death. What is death? Death is simply the extinguishing of the six faculties, six sense faculties. So they have already witnessed the non-existence or not having that sort of sense awareness. Yeah. So that is why it's this path is, once you have seen this, that is what the noble or supramundane result. Yeah, supramundane. That means it's not, you can claim all the philosophies, you can claim all these sort of various path, like you can call it I am a bodhisattva, that sort of, and say then our path is superior than these people who are following that sort of old teachings of the Buddha in Pali. They do disparage that. I was a bit surprised when I was in Nepal and they were saying, oh, look, this Pali is old, just ignore that. And look, we have got so much, so much supramundane, so much superior path than this Pali Suttas. So it's kind of because this kind of people, they have not seen, they were, immersed in that sort of philosophies. They were fabricating concepts. They were, creating all these sort of, extra, ideas around the Buddha's teaching. So who are the Arya disciples? Those who have gone through and seen the process. Yeah. So all these teachings from the Buddha boils down into having that sort of personal experience, having that sort of vision, and that sort of approach to be able to personally test that. Yeah. So that is why this supramundane path, this is how you kind of see the ultimate fruit of this path. Yeah. So you will, everything happens in front of you. Yeah. And Buddha says that those who practice this path, they know their last breath. Even the last breath, they know it is coming and going. Yeah. Such a such a clarity, such awareness, they will remain in this people who are practicing this path. Yeah. So I think this is what I wanted to share today. I know there are quite a lot of things I started to bring together, which are taken from the various suttas. So I do not think we have more time. So in the interest of not keeping you for long, I would like to stop here if I can. Yeah, so it is, I know what I talked today is maybe a bit unconventional, a bit too hard to accept. So I would like you to put aside this kind of because we are recording this, you can probably revisit this later, because I'm just giving you what I saw. Yeah. So it might be helpful later, maybe not immediately now, but please keep it for your reference. And yeah, it's quite a lot of good stuff is coming your way. And the ultimate winner of this path is you transcend the death. You transcend all this, the conditioned process. You will no more be bound with this universe. You are free from this universe. That's it. So Thank you very much. I think I have talked too much today. Please let me know your comments, questions, anything that you thought what I say is doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So any question, any comments, please. Or you agree or disagree with me. Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for Indu. You have such a really profound outline for this mundane and supermundane. As we're going to continue practice, this is the great understanding by understand the whole gradual training and also how to unify the final situations. So we understand the mundane is all conditioning, and supermundane we're heading to unconditioning. Actually, it's a two path, but into one path. So we need the mundane and moving to the supermundane. And of course, we have to spend time to continue practice. And then we still want to moving on in this Dhamma talk soon. And hopefully anyone have suggestions of how to do it in a better way. So we still want the Dhamma delivery to the world through the Zoom or through the retreat or through the Dhamma talk or whatever convenient for everyone. So Nanda, can you run up with these sections? Nanda?
Yes. Are there any questions from anybody? Would Camille like to ask a question, or Pai like to ask a question, as Professor Indu is here to answer your questions?
I don't have a question, but I would like to say thank you for this Dhamma talk. It was a lot of useful information, and you clarify for me a lot of things. So thank you one more.
Thank you.
Does Pai have any questions to ask, Pai? Yes. Professor Shakya, on behalf of everyone gathered here, we offer our heartfelt gratitude for your generous and insightful sharing. Your explanation of the Supramundane Noble Eightfold Path has brought clarity, inspiration, and renewed confidence in the Buddha's way of release. Thank you for offering your time, your knowledge, and your compassionate presence. May our work continue to benefit many beings, and may the merit of this sharing support your own path to peace. With metta and gratitude. Let's share merit now. May suffering
ones be suffering-free, and the fear-struck spirit-free. May the grieving share of grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired, for the acquisitions of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, neighbors and others of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May the Lord protect the Buddha's dispensations. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So Nanda, can you please just update the next one, the next Saturdays, and then we will discuss later and how to manage it in a better way. Okay,
Yes.
so yes,
Thank
stay
you.
in touch. Thank you for all the
Thank you all.
attention to these sessions.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.